What's going on, guys? This is Michael from GPURisers.com, and today we're going to be upgrading our test bench. Now this is kind of a one-off video. I just wanted to kind of document what we're doing, why we're doing it, why these parts specifically, how much it is to upgrade, and why we're upgrading it. So starting off, this board is a Z170 from MSI. Now it doesn't have any Wi-Fi, so we have an adapter right there, not a big problem. This board was originally used in one of our mining rigs from years ago. And when we kind of consolidated our farm, we got higher end 30 series cards and got rid of 470s, 480s, 580s, stuff like that. We had a couple spare motherboards, so we decided to use this one for our test bench. So as you guys can see, most of these videos will have me remoted into this computer. Because this motherboard was on a rig running a Linux distro, Miner Stat specifically, it has a G3930 and a single 8GB stick of RAM. So when we're doing any kind of testing, it's really struggling to keep up with what we're doing. Even remoting in using AnyDesk or Parsec or anything like that really takes a strain on this system. So I was looking for mining motherboards. Actually, I like to keep my mining rigs anywhere from 6 to 8 cards. That's just a personal preference because of power supplies, and I like doing single power supplies, specifically 1600 watt. But I'm planning on making a new rig, and I needed a motherboard and thought, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and use this motherboard because mining specific motherboards right now are extremely expensive. I think an H110 from ROG is around $300. B52s from ASUS are right around that price as well. So we're going to be throwing in our test bench motherboard and getting a new one. And that's kind of where I started looking for parts. Now I'll go over the motherboard first here. Here we have an ROG Maximus Hero Wi-Fi edition. I kind of wanted something new, but not extremely new. There's a new version of this, I believe a 590, and this is a 490. Now these motherboards are actually north of $400. They're kind of difficult to find, but don't worry, I did not spend that much on this. Especially for a test bench, you really don't need anything crazy. What I'll do is I'll kind of get like a general idea of what kind of part that I want, and then I'll look it up on Amazon, and then usually they have ones that are sold by Amazon that are used. And you can like kind of check on Amazon, it'll say, you know, good, very good, like new. This one in particular was $200, which is cheaper than any mining motherboard. And I think it's gonna hold value a little bit. Maybe a couple years down the line, I might wanna upgrade the test bench again. And I always kind of do that with things. When I buy things, I like to buy used parts. Now I usually lean towards used parts. I'm pretty good with computers, and if there's something wrong with it or an issue or anything like that, I can usually troubleshoot it fairly well. And worst case, the board is just completely DOA, unfixable. You can always return it to Amazon. So for me, it's like, why not save a couple bucks, and in this case, a lot of bucks, and go with used products. This one was ranked good by Amazon. There seems to be a couple scuffs or scratches on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and open it up and show you guys what classifies as a good motherboard from Amazon. Here we go. I don't think this board was ever used. Now right off the bat, there are a couple things. You can see here, there's a little ding right there. Not sure what that's from, maybe a screw or something. Then it looks like right here there's another one. Little ding. The big thing to look at is definitely going to be the processor socket. I think that looks pretty good. There's no bent pins that I can see right off the bat. So we'll get that closed up until we're ready to put the processor in. The second thing I got, of course, is a processor. I went with an i5. Now anything over an i5 kind of is overkill, and i7s usually don't really have any good deals. This one I got from Amazon as well, and this one was like new. I think I saved about 25 bucks on this. It's still completely sealed. I think it's just because the box was scuffed up. So there, I saved a little bit of money on that as well. And the CPU cooler, this is by Arctic. Arctic usually is a good brand. I have a lot of these on a lot of my motherboards that I use on rigs. Honestly, they're just very cheap. They're about 15 bucks. But this one had a messed up box. There we go. So this one was about 9 bucks. Now I did buy new RAM. I got 16 gigabytes of RAM by G.Skill, the Trident Z Royal. And my reasoning for this, well, it just looks really cool. So I will splurge a little bit on this. I did wait about 2-3 weeks, and Newegg eventually did have a good sale on this. I picked these up for I think $110, and this is 3600 DDR4 RAM. I could have gone used RAM for about $85, but since this is an open air frame, I did want something a little bit prettier to look at. So yes, I'm a big proponent of buying used parts. There's not really much risk. You can always return it to Amazon, and also it makes it so that your hardware doesn't depreciate right off the bat. It's like buying a new car and driving it off the lot. The second you open it and cut the seal, it's all of a sudden used, and it's not worth what it is new. So if you buy it used already, you're already buying it at that discount. So if you're selling it used later on in a couple years down the line, you're really just selling another used product. So buying it used like this kind of just skips that whole depreciation right off the bat. But enough of that. I'm going to go ahead and take this whole test bench apart, get the card off. It is doing the 1 week analysis of how much it's going to be making on Kapow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut the whole thing off for exactly an hour, and then I'll add an hour back on. All right, so let's get this booted down now. Okay, so the rig's powered down now. Now I'm going to start taking it apart. Okay, now we got the Z170 off. I almost dropped a screw into the power supply, so next time I do that, I'm going to put something over that. Now I'm going to get this board out of here and get the ROG Maximus in. All right, so let's get this i5 put into the motherboard. So we got the processor right here. We're going to go ahead and just line this up now. Okay, that looks like it's in there. It's not moving or wobbling. Now this should pop out right here. There it goes. So now we got that seated in there. Now let's get the heat sink on. So here we go. I'm definitely going to need 2 hands for this to push in the clips, so let me do that now. Oh, this also does come with thermal paste already put on it, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, so that got in there without an issue. I just had to take it out of the box a little bit to get these clips to snap in. All right, so we got the new ROG Maximus in. Here you can see the little scuff mark. There's another one right here. Things like that don't really bother me all too much, especially since this is a test bench. It's going to get nicked up. So now that that's in, let's go ahead and connect everything else. All right, so I think everything is plugged in. I'm gonna go ahead and just turn on the power supply real quick. You can see that the lights do turn on, so that's good. But I really hope something in this is not DOA, because I am putting the whole thing back together. Oh, I almost forgot about the RAM, my most favorite part of this. And here we go. Look at those. I saw these in a couple builds on YouTube actually, and after seeing these on YouTube and seeing reviews and everything like that, I just absolutely love them. I think they nailed it on the design, and when I redo my main computer, I'm definitely going to be picking these up for that. So let's go ahead and get these into the RAM slots. There we go. Looks like we have both sticks in there now. You can see I have studio lighting in here. I'll go into detail on what I do with the studio lighting in here at a different time, but you can see it reflecting off of these little crystals that they have on this RAM. It's just totally cool. All right, we got the 3080 Ti plugged in and ready to go. Let's hope that this test bench starts without any issues. The on button. Okay. I think it just had to think about it for a little bit. There it goes. Okay. New startup screen. It's not all the... And that's going to probably say new CPU installed. Okay, so yeah, a new CPU is installed. And also something I haven't seen before, which I'm guessing is with the new Intel CPUs. You can set a performance mode or a default mode. Now, I went with default mode just because I don't want this processor using any more power than it already needs to. Maybe I'll even underclock it and see if that does anything. I've never actually done that, but maybe it'll shave off a few watts. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead now into the BIOS and change the speed for the RAM. I always forget to do this. It's always whenever I install new RAM on any computer, I'll boot the computer up, and about 4 months later, I'll open something or see something and see that the speed is defaulted to like 2666 or something like that. So I'm not making that mistake with this. All right, so I just changed the RAM speed, rebooted, and let's go ahead and get this back up and running. All right, it is booting back up, and look at that, another fun error. So we're updating the BIOS to the latest version that ASUS has on their website. I think there might be some compatibility issues with some of the hardware that I have. This is a last generation board now, so I'm not sure what it is, but we're going to be trying this first. All right, so it looks like we're back online now. I had to change a couple settings in the BIOS. It looked like for whatever reason, the settings on this new motherboard were defaulted to not allow for the EUFI Windows boot. It was something with the secure boot. It wasn't reading it for whatever reason with the previous installation that I had, but I changed the setting and now we're back. When I first started back up, I was getting a couple blue screens. I think it was something to do with the RAM. I had it set at 3600 and I just kept having issues. But it seems like now that the RAM is set to only 3200, it seems to be rock solid. I'm not sure exactly why or what, but I just wanted to get this back up and running as soon as possible. So this only has a couple more days left on it to do an analysis, 1 week profitability analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and wait until I take this off after a week, and then I'm going to start messing around with the settings and see why the RAM is not sticking to 3600. And also, I forgot to include earlier, we purchased these Wi-Fi antennas for the motherboard. Because this motherboard was only $200 used, it didn't come with some things, which included the antennas. However, the antennas that usually come with these motherboards have long wires that come out, and usually you have to have some kind of antenna piece at the top of your computer. But I wanted to get these anyways, just so that they're small and sleek, and you know, mining really does not take much bandwidth. So even if I lose a couple megabits here and there for download or upload, I really don't care. So actually, now that I'm filming this, it looks like the wattage is a little higher than usual. I'm gonna have just make sure my MSI settings are the same for Raven Coin. But yeah, that's enough of this video. I just wanted to show you guys an upgrade that I did for the test bench, the parts that I used, why I choose to use used parts, and also the great deals that you can get on some of this stuff. So I'd rather buy a used $500 motherboard for $200 than a brand new motherboard that's a lower budget one for $200. To me, it might not come with the nicest shaped box, it might not come with the antennas on the back, it might even come with a little bit of nicks that you can see here and there on these motherboards, but to me, none of that stuff really matters at the end of the day because it just works. So now I have the old Z170 here. We are going to put this back into our mining farm. And I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think I am going to do a 3080 LHR build. That would be with 6 3080 LHRs, but I'm not entirely sure. I might do 3060 Ti's. However, I do have a 1600 watt power supply laying around, so I might as well use it. A single 1600 watt power supply could easily handle 6 3080 LHRs, so I'm not too worried about that. And it would definitely be overkill for only 6 3060 Ti's, but it would not be good enough for 6 of these things. But ultimately, this is going to go into my main computer. Its profitability is already really good. You guys will see the video coming out shortly. However, the wattage is higher than it's supposed to be right now. There has to be an overclock setting kind of messed up. But really, these things pull about 350 watts each. And for me, that's just a little too much for one of these cards. But I'm not going to get into that here. I'll go over it on the whole 3-part video on the 3080 Ti. But yeah, back to the test bench upgrades. If you guys have any questions or maybe even any insight as to why the 3600 speed didn't work, I have a feeling it's just another BIOS setting that I have to mess around with. But yeah, go ahead and drop a comment down below. What do you guys use for your test bench? If you have a test bench at all, or do you just throw a card on an existing rig and just mess around with it there? I personally use a test bench a lot for testing risers that come in. We spot test every batch of risers that we. But also, as you can see, prior to making these videos, the test bench was very bare bones, nothing really special about it. So we did a couple upgrades, and especially with these new cards that are coming out and these new algorithms like Ergo, and Raven Coin's been around forever, but we're actually testing new cards on these algorithms. And so it's also nice to have a test bench doing it. I don't have to have plug this into a rig mining a different algorithm with a bunch of other cards. I'm able to just isolate a single card at one time. And if it works well, kind of like the 3080 LHR did, then in an isolated environment like this, I could then replicate those same overclocks, those same settings into a full rig of 1 to 6 cards, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing with the 170. What do you guys normally do for motherboards and parts like this, processors, RAM? Do you buy it new? Do you buy it used? What third-party markets do you guys use? eBay, Amazon, things of that nature? Do you just, source it locally through Facebook Marketplace or, other avenues? So yeah, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I'm going to get back to messing with this card to make sure the overclocks are better. The wattage seems to have gone down a little bit, but I didn't change anything, so that's something I got to figure out. As always, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time.